There are moments in life when silence becomes deafening and loneliness seems endless. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important." This isn't just loneliness, it's a sacred phase, the silence before a profound transformation. You didn't stumble upon this message by accident. If you are experiencing isolation now, if you feel abandoned, lost, invisible, perhaps your soul is preparing you for the greatest rebirth of your life. Every meaningful change begins in a period of apparent emptiness. The caterpillar, before becoming a butterfly, is trapped in a dark cocoon, isolated from everything it once knew. Human beings are no different. Jung taught that when our old identity no longer sustains our spirit, the unconscious pushes us into solitude to dissolve the illusions that no longer serve us. This painful silence isn't punishment. It's an initiation. It is life stripping away all masks, illusions, and false comforts so you can discover who you truly are beneath it all. Right now you might be questioning your worth, your purpose, your existence itself. This questioning is sacred. Jung said that true self-realization only begins after the collapse of external identities, losing relationships, losing status, losing certainty. It's painful, but it's the only path to find your soul's true voice. Your loneliness is a divine calling, a sacred invitation. It's asking you to leave behind the world's noise so you can finally hear the language of your inner world. And what you'll find there when you dare to listen will change everything. When you feel abandoned, remember, what is happening to you is not rejection, it is selection. Life is pruning what no longer resonates with your higher destiny. Friends. Leaving, relationships ending, opportunities disappearing, all are signs that your frequency is shifting. Your soul is no longer compatible with environments, people, and situations that kept you small. Jung said that healing and transformation demand the courage to be temporarily misunderstood by the world. You are not broken, you are expanding, and expansion always demands solitude, just like seeds must be buried in darkness before they bloom. When you are in this sacred silence, avoid filling the void with noise or distractions. Resist the urge to numb the discomfort. Instead, honor the silence. Listen, breathe, feel. The old version of you is dying, and the birth of the new self requires space, patience, and trust. You are not being punished, you are being purified. Jung compared this stage to the alchemical process, where base materials must endure intense fire to transform into gold. You, right now, are in the fire of transformation. And soon, something extraordinary will be born within you. At times, the sadness might seem unbearable. You might feel like no one understands you, like you are invisible even to God. But in these moments, remember, the deepest roots grow in silence. The strongest souls are forged in loneliness. Your soul chose this path long before you understood it. Because your soul knows, before a major breakthrough there must be a breakdown. Before expansion there must be contraction. Before light there must be darkness. Jung said that it is in the darkest depths that we find the brightest treasures. Within us, you are now standing at the threshold. The pain you feel is the tearing of old layers. The sadness is the mourning of the false self. The emptiness is the sacred preparation for your real essence to emerge. Don't run from this process. Don't fight the solitude. Dive into it. Embrace it. Surrender to it. Because on the other side of this silence, a version of you awaits that is infinitely stronger, freer, and more luminous than you can imagine. The world will never understand this journey. But it doesn't have to. This is your journey. Your soul's sacred pact. Your silent rebirth. And when the time comes when your soul is ready, you will rise, not as who you were, but as who you truly are. You may wonder why this silence feels so heavy, why solitude stirs so much fear inside. It is because for so long you were taught that value comes from outside, from being seen, applauded, loved by others. But Jung reminds us, the true self has no need for external validation. The true self simply is. It breathes, it lives, it shines from within. In solitude you are stripped of applause, approval, and recognition. What remains is your essence, raw, vulnerable, pure. And although it feels terrifying at first, it is precisely there in the rawness that your greatest power lies hidden. Jung said that confronting your own darkness is not a failure, but a necessity for true liberation. When you face the silence, without distractions, you begin to distinguish your authentic soul from the masks you wore to survive. This is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. As loneliness deepens, a new sense of self begins to form. Slowly you realize that you are not the roles you played, you are not your successes, your failures, or your relationships. You are something far more eternal. In this moment of emptiness, your spirit whispers truths you had long forgotten. You are whole even when alone. You are worthy even when unseen. You are divine even when no one says so. This is the rebirth Jung spoke of, the emergence of the self from the ruins of the ego. And once you taste this freedom, even if just for a second, you will never again be enslaved by the need for external approval. You will love differently. You will dream differently. You will live differently. You will no longer need people to stay in your life to feel valuable. You will no longer chase after validation. You will simply be, and those meant to walk. With you on your higher path will find you naturally, effortlessly. This solitude you fear is the doorway to your liberation. It is where old wounds will come to light, demanding healing. Jung taught that what we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate. If you ignore this sacred silence, if you drown it with distractions, the same patterns of pain will keep repeating. But if you face it with open arms, something miraculous happens. You begin to heal. You begin to integrate. You begin to become whole. The loneliness that hurts so much today will one day be remembered as the birthplace of your true strength. The silence that now feels suffocating will one day be the very soil from which your dreams blossom. Jung said that a tree's branches cannot reach to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. And so it is with the soul. We cannot ascend to light without first descending into our shadows. You are not losing yourself. You are finding yourself. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not alone. You are in the arms of life itself, being shaped, carved, refined for the mission your soul chose long ago. Trust the process. Even if you don't understand it now, even if everything inside you screams for it to end, trust. Because one day, very soon, you will look back and realize it was in the silence that I found my wings. It was in the loneliness that I discovered my true home. It was in the darkness that I found my own light, and from this light you will love again, dream again, believe again, but this time from a place of wholeness, not lack, from a place of authenticity, not fear, from a place of freedom, not dependency. You are not being broken. You are being reborn. There will come a moment when the silence no longer frightens you, but nourishes you. You will sit alone and feel complete. You will walk through empty streets and hear your soul singing. You will no longer fill the silence with distractions, but embrace it as a sacred companion. Because the loneliness that once seemed to punish you has now revealed itself as your most faithful guide. Carl Jung taught that when the soul wants to grow, it pushes you into spaces where the ego cannot survive. In those spaces you cannot pretend, you cannot perform, you cannot impress, you can only be. And it is there, in the raw honesty of solitude, that you meet your truest self. No one teaches us how to be alone. Society teaches us how to be busy, how to be liked, how to belong to groups. But true belonging starts inside, when you no longer abandon yourself to gain approval from others. You are learning slowly, painfully, but surely that you are enough, just as you are. Not because someone says so, not because someone stays, but because your existence itself is sacred. When you stop running from loneliness, something else extraordinary happens. You begin to hear your intuition clearly. Without the noise of expectations, judgments, and external pressures, your inner voice grows stronger. Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But that privilege demands courage. The courage to sit with your soul, to listen to it, and to trust its whispers, even when the world tells you otherwise. In this sacred loneliness, you realize that many of the things you once pursued were mere illusions. The applause, the validation, the relationships built on fear of abandonment, they were crutches, not true nourishment. Now stripped of all external affirmations, you see that what remains is infinitely more precious. Your soul, intact, powerful, radiant. You begin to rebuild your life, not from neediness, but from authenticity. You choose friendships that honor your essence, not your mask. You pursue dreams that align with your soul, not your ego. You express love without clinging, without demanding, without losing yourself. This transformation, though invisible to the outside world, is monumental inside. It is the death of the false self and the rebirth of the true self. It is the journey from outer validation to inner sanctity. It is what Jung called individuation, the path where you become who you were always meant to be, beneath the layers of conditioning, fear, and expectation. And as you evolve, you will naturally attract different realities, people who vibrate at the same frequency, opportunities that resonate with your soul's mission, experiences that nourish your authentic self, not your survival self. Your external world will begin to mirror the inner world you have cultivated through the sacred work of solitude. But none of this is a destination. It is a lifelong journey, a dance between light and shadow, between solitude and connection, between silence and expression. What matters is not reaching a final state, but walking the path consciously, lovingly, courageously. Carl Jung reminds, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. You are awakening, even if it feels chaotic now. You are remembering, even if it feels like forgetting. You are healing, even if it feels like breaking. Let the silence do its sacred work. Let the loneliness sculpt you into someone unbreakable, unshakable, and unapologetically real. Because you were never meant to be half of anything. You were meant to be whole, and as you begin to feel whole in your own presence, you unlock a new kind of love, one that does not come from a place of need, but from a place of abundance. You no longer love others because you need them to complete you. You love them because your soul overflows, and love becomes a gift, not a transaction. Carl Jung once said that loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. Now, as you embrace your true self, you become capable of profound communication, not with everyone, but with those whose hearts are open to truly see you. You learn that not everyone will understand your transformation. Some will feel uncomfortable with your light because it reflects their own shadows. Others will try to pull you back into old patterns because your growth threatens their comfort zones. This is not a sign to stop. It is a confirmation that you are walking your soul's path. True transformation inevitably disturbs the status quo, inside and outside. You also realize that solitude does not mean isolation. It is not about rejecting others. It is about no longer rejecting yourself. It is about moving from relationships of dependency to relationships of interdependence, where two whole beings choose to walk together, not because they need to, but because they want to. This shift changes everything. Your friendships deepen. Your love becomes more expansive. Your boundaries become clearer, not from fear, but from self-respect. The fears that once haunted you, of abandonment, rejection, invisibility, lose their power, because you have faced the ultimate fear, being alone with yourself, and you have found not a monster, but a miracle. You have discovered that your own presence can be nurturing, inspiring, and enough. This is the true power of solitude. It dismantles illusions and reveals truths that no external relationship could ever provide. From this inner sanctuary, you begin to dream new dreams, dreams that are not rooted in survival, but in expansion. Dreams that honor your deepest values, not just your surface desires. Dreams that are expressions of your soul's unique blueprint, not echoes of societal expectations. Carl Jung believed that the greatest tragedy of the individual is to remain a stranger to oneself. You are defying that tragedy. You are becoming intimately acquainted with your own soul. And as you walk this path, you develop a kind of resilience that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Life's inevitable storms, losses, failures, rejections, still hurt, but they no longer destroy you. Because your roots are deep, Your foundation is internal. Your worth is no longer negotiable. This is not arrogance. It is sacred humility, knowing that you are part of something greater, an infinite consciousness expressing itself through your finite form, knowing that your life has intrinsic meaning, not because of what you achieve, but because of who you are at your core. Solitude that once felt like a curse becomes your temple. The silence that once felt unbearable becomes your sanctuary. The loneliness that once wounded you becomes your teacher, and you realize you were never truly alone. Your soul was always with you. Your divine spark was always burning, quietly, patiently, waiting for you to turn inward and remember. Carl Jung taught that the encounter with the self is a sacred event, often terrifying, often painful, but ultimately liberating. It is the path of the wounded healer, the hero's journey, the alchemical transformation of the soul. And you are on that path now, even if you didn't choose it consciously, even if it chose you through heartbreak, loss, or existential crisis. Trust this path. Trust the wisdom of your loneliness. Trust the voice that whispers in the silence, you are not broken, you are breaking open. And what is emerging from within you is not weakness, but immeasurable strength. The world needs souls who have walked through their own darkness and emerged with light. The world needs hearts that have been shattered and still choose to love. The world needs beings who can stand alone, not out of pride, but out of authenticity. You are becoming one of them, quietly, courageously, beautifully, and no one can take that away from you. As you continue to evolve, something profound happens. You start seeing the loneliness of others not as a threat, but as a mirror. You recognize the silent battles they fight, the fears they hide, the masks they wear. Compassion blossoms naturally because you have journeyed through your own shadows. You no longer need to judge or rescue anyone. You simply hold space, a sacred space, where others can glimpse the possibility of their own transformation. This shift makes you magnetic in an entirely different way. People are drawn to your authenticity, your peace, your quiet strength. Not because you seek attention, but because true energy always attracts. Some will be inspired, some will be intimidated. Both reactions are gifts, reminders that your light is doing its work without force, without effort, simply by being. Carl Jung once said that only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life. You are now living that paradox. You are strong precisely because you have embraced your vulnerabilities. You are whole because you have acknowledged your brokenness. You are deeply connected to life because you have walked through the valley of loneliness. And now, your dreams are no longer desperate attempts to escape pain or seek validation. They are sacred expressions of your soul's deepest truth. Your relationships are no longer about filling voids. They are about sharing abundance. Your choices are no longer dictated by fear. They are guided by love, real love, fierce and tender, rooted in the courage to be fully yourself. The journey was not easy. It demanded everything from you, your illusions, your attachments, your false identities. It stripped you down to your essence. And in that rawness you found your real self, the one who cannot be abandoned because it is eternal, the one who cannot be rejected because it does not depend on external approval, the one who cannot be broken because it was never separate. To begin with, this is the rebirth Carl Jung spoke of, the death of the false self and the awakening of the true self. It is not a moment of fireworks and fanfare. It is a quiet, steady dawning, like the slow lifting of a heavy mist, revealing the solid ground beneath your feet, like the first deep breath after being underwater for too long, like the moment you realize that everything you were seeking out there was already waiting for you within. And now your life becomes a living testament to this truth, not through words but through presence, not through declarations but through being. Every step you take, every choice you make, every relationship you nurture or release, it all becomes an offering of authenticity in a world starving for it, an offering of light in a world often trapped in shadows. You no longer need everyone to understand you. You no longer fear being misunderstood. You no longer chase after love, success, or belonging. You stand in your own center, and from that center, everything you truly need flows naturally towards you, not as a reward, but as a resonance. This is not the end of the journey. It is a new beginning, a beginning where you are no longer a passive traveler swept by external currents, but a conscious creator, a soul awakened to its own power and beauty. Carl Jung taught that the greatest gift we can offer the world is to become whole, not perfect, whole, embracing our light and our darkness, honoring our humanity and our divinity, living not from the fragmented ego, but from the integrated self. You are on that sacred path now. Every moment of solitude you endured was not wasted. Every tear you shed was not in vain. Every fear you faced carved space for more light to enter. And now, you carry that light, not to save the world, but simply to be who you were always, meant to be. And that, dear soul, is enough. More than enough. It is everything. In the silence that follows this transformation, you begin to hear the real music of your soul. It is not loud, it is not urgent, it is steady, ancient, and infinitely wise. It sings of your resilience, your courage, your sacred belonging to life itself. You realize that nothing you endured was wasted. Every wound became a portal. Every goodbye became a gateway. Every moment you thought was breaking, you was actually making you. Carl Jung often spoke of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, distinct and whole. You now understand that individuation is not a selfish path. It is a sacred duty, because the world needs whole souls more than ever, souls who are not enslaved by fear, souls who do not seek to dominate or be dominated, souls who can stand in love even when surrounded by pain. And so you live differently now. You love differently. You dream differently. You are no longer seeking to fix others or be fixed by them. You recognize that everyone is on their own sacred journey. You offer empathy, not pity, support, not rescue, presence, not pressure. You embody the rarest kind of strength, the strength to let things unfold as they must, while holding unwavering faith in the goodness at the core of existence. The solitude you once feared has become your sanctuary. The silence you once avoided has become your guide. The emptiness you once dreaded has become a fertile ground where the seeds of your true self have taken root and blossomed. And from this fertile ground, you create a new life. Not one dictated by societal expectations or inherited fears. A life that is profoundly your own. A life that honors your deepest truths, your highest visions, your most tender dreams. A life that is not perfect, but deeply aligned. A life that feels like coming home. This is the true turning point Carl Jung hinted at, the moment when solitude ceases to be a curse and becomes a blessing, a source of strength, a wellspring of clarity. It is the moment when you realize that being alone never meant being abandoned. It meant being called inward, called home, called to remember who you really are beyond the noise, the roles, the masks. And now, from this place of remembrance, you walk the world differently. You no longer shrink yourself to fit into spaces that cannot hold your truth. You no longer betray yourself for acceptance. You no longer settle for connections that drain your soul. You choose differently. You move differently. You love differently. And life responds. Not always in the ways you expect, but always in ways that serve your highest unfolding. New opportunities arise. New relationships blossom. New dreams take root. And even when challenges come, as they inevitably will, you meet them from a place of anchored wisdom and resilient hope. You realize that the greatest freedom is not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. The greatest wealth is not in possessions, but in authenticity. The greatest love is not found outside of you, but flows from within you. Carl Jung believed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. You are living that privilege now. Every step you took in the dark led you here. Every tear you shed watered the soil of your becoming. Every silent prayer, every whispered hope, every act of courage unseen by the world, it all mattered. And now, your life matters in a deeper way. Not because of what you achieve, but because of who you are. A soul awake, a heart open, a spirit unafraid. As you move forward, carry this knowing with you. The loneliness was never a punishment. It was a preparation. The silence was never an absence. It was a presence waiting to be heard. The emptiness was never a void. It was a space being cleared for something greater, truer, more beautiful to enter. You are the living proof that even the darkest nights give birth to the brightest dawns, that even the deepest wounds can become the most radiant scars, that even the loneliest paths lead home. And so, dear soul, trust your journey. Honor your becoming. Shine your light, not for applause, not for validation, but because it is who you are. In the words of Carl Jung, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. You are awake now. Welcome home.